We have a team of 28 other individuals that work for us. And a lot of them come to me and they're like, you do such great things. How do I get started? And my answer to them is just get started with something. Just pick one card, put some of your spending that you're already doing, even if it's your normal every monthly charges, such as your power, your cable, your phone, those things, and just start accruing points. Just put it on almost autopilot and figure out a threshold that's important to you and then go from there.
Hey there, points people. You just heard a clip from Dr. Cappy Sinclair, a student in the Points Accelerator program. He runs his practice, Coastal Cosmetic and Implant Dentistry, with his business partner in Virginia. When he's not in the office, you can catch Dr. Sinclair spending time with his wife Lauren and their sons, Ryder and Brooks, more likely than not at a tropical destination. In this episode, expect to hear about how dental professionals can leverage their business expenses to take some incredible trips, how to balance learning this skill with a packed schedule, and an amazing points trip to the Maldives, which includes Q Suites, the Etihad residence, and so much more. And if you are looking to maximize your points so that you can travel like Dr. Sinclair, we have a free live training coming up at geobreezetravel.com/webinar. We're covering how to optimize your points. And I only do these free trainings a couple of times a year. Also, they aren't recorded, so if you miss it, you miss out. Again, you can sign up at geobreezetravel.com/webinar. And now, on with the show. Hey, Cappy. Welcome to the
Hello.
GeoBreeze Travel Podcast.
I'm excited to be here and share with you a little bit about what I've learned over the years.
I am so excited to have you here. We are going to talk about all of the cool points trips that you've been able to take, some new strategies that you have been employing. And you're in the dental field, so we can also talk about how anybody who is in a similar field might be able to leverage their dental practice to earn boatloads of points and miles. But before we jump into any of that, tell us about you and how did you get into this wonderful game?
So as you shared, I'm a dentist in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I've owned my own practice for about 15 years. And sad enough to say that when I first started my practice, I never even had a credit card. So when you go to take out a loan, often they check your credit. And if you don't have a credit score, you can't qualify for a loan. So that was really my first venture into the credit card world, is just getting a basic Visa, Wells Fargo credit card. And after spending thousands of dollars on going through lots of dental supplies, I realized there had to be something else out there.
When did you realize this? How long had it been between like, oh yay, I've started a dental practice, full-fledged dentist, being like, oh my God.
So my mom ran her own business as well, and she had a Capital One card before. And I think she shared with me one time, hey, this would be a great idea for you to get some mileage back, when it was a mileage eraser. And she had paid for a couple of our flights, maybe to Mexico or things like that as college kids. And we looked into that and I was like, absolutely. So I think that was really my first travel points card. Coming into it was the Capital One old school points eraser style card for business.
What year was this?
I would say this was probably around 2014.
When did you start getting into flexible points where you're like, oh, there's a whole other world here?
So that was probably shortly thereafter. 2016, 2017 is really when I started diving into the deep end of the points world. Our first real foray into it, I would say, was probably 2017, where my wife and I started maximizing things to a much greater potential than I ever had before.
What were a couple of your first points trips that you redeemed points for?
So one of the first points trips that we redeemed points for was when my wife was pregnant with our first kid. We have two little boys who are crazy. My wife, it was during Zika. So when Zika was all the fad and phase and you couldn't go to the Caribbean, I think I had booked a trip to the Bahamas. During Zika, obviously we had to cancel our trip to the Bahamas and pivot to something else. And so I asked my wife at the time, where else would you want to go? And she had never been to Europe before. And I realized we had the potential opportunity to go to Europe several times before we had a baby, and we took the opportunity. So the first real points redemption that we did is we flew first class from, I think I used a positioning flight to get to JFK, and then flew from JFK to Amsterdam to Rome. I believe it probably was on United at the time, and then had a great time utilizing Marriott points at the time. I think our total cost for the whole trip was probably several $100 for a couple of other area hotels and things like that. But previously, my Europe experience was in hostels, so which probably still was a couple $100, but a totally different experience. So we did that once, and then fortunately about 3 months later, we went back to Europe a second time, and we went to Paris, Iceland, Germany. My wife was able to see almost 8 countries in a period of several months before we had a little boy.
That's incredible. And a very, very impressive first redemption. A lot of people make a lot of mistakes redeeming points for magazines or something before they get to that level.
Oh yeah, that's definitely like the thought crossed my eye. I had a few friends that had been in points before. Some of them were even like in the golden days of the Sacagawea coins where they were redeeming dollar coins with their Amex and doing the American Express like spend machines in Walmart where they were loading gift cards and doing that style. So I wasn't a part of that, but I had a few friends that definitely capitalized on that world.
What was kind of the most difficult thing that you went through as you were learning a lot of this on your own, where you're like, this just seems way harder than it needs to be, or I accidentally blew a whole bunch of points on something, or some mistake where you're like, hey kids, don't do this?
No, I think that's a great question. I think one of the biggest mistakes I probably made early was speculation. We're utilizing speculative points. So saying, oh, great, there's a transfer bonus of 50%. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this whole bank of points without having any idea where I'm going. I'll figure it out later, but this is such a great deal. So I think one of the mistakes that I did with that was transferring a whole bunch of Virgin points. Didn't have anywhere where we wanted to go in London. Kept trying to figure out what our route was going to be, how we were going to get there. And this was, I want to say, right before COVID. So then, of course, COVID happens, the world shuts down. So we had tons of Virgin points sitting there for several years that were probably going to expire. And I just finally ended up redeeming them, I want to say in 2022, maybe. And I don't even know if we got to utilize all of those at that point in time. But that was obviously 2.5 years from when we first redeemed the points, and things had obviously devalued over that period of time and things like that. So I think that was my first lesson in don't speculatively transfer points without a plan in place. So I would say that. And then the other aspect was almost opening up too many cards at once, being banned or not banned, but restricted from getting more cards due to Chase's 524 rule. I thought this was like, this is great. Let's just keep getting cards, keep getting cards, keep getting cards, and ended up not getting approved because of Chase's 524 rule, which I wasn't aware of until after the fact.
It sounds like you learned quite a bit on your own. What made you decide to sign up for Points Accelerator or any other services as well, where you're like, I think I want to level up even more? Because you've got a pretty good handle on it at
Yeah.
this point.
So a lot of this goes back into dentistry. So dentistry, a lot of as a solo practitioner, you learn on your own and you look for like-minded people that are able to level up your game. The internet has been amazing. Like Instagram's been awesome for dentistry. It's been awesome for this side of world from the points aspect. There's so many people out there with so much knowledge. And even if it's in like a very small, nuanced part of the system, it's something that I'd love to investigate. So when I think I originally came across your platform, you had a lot of knowledge about things that I hadn't heard about, various manufactured spending items and things, which I still haven't gotten into, but I know it's out there as well. And I think part of it too was if I was going to potentially be teaching some other business professionals this as well, I wanted to make sure that I was teaching them appropriate information and making sure that was my information the best, or were there better ways to describe some of these things to other dental professionals along the process. So that's really what I think was very helpful for me, was to see it in a structured format, because a lot of my education was kind of shotgunned and trial by fire, but to see someone to put together a full-on course and content and be able to see kind of where there are holes and things that I might be telling people accordingly.
As you teach other dentists or dental professionals about this hobby, what are some of the ways that might be a little bit unique to the dental practice where you're like, guys, you can earn so many more points this
Yeah.
way versus somebody who doesn't have their own business or someone who may have a business, but it's not a dental practice? What are some of those techniques?
I think the bonus areas for dentistry, one of them is obviously most dentists rely on internet marketing for, I would say, at least 50% of bringing new patients in the practice. We spend several thousands of dollars per month on Google AdWords, Facebook ads, Meta ads, all of that. So with Chase's new Business Sapphire Reserve card, you're getting 3 times points on that spend versus 1x on several other cards. So, I mean, we're able to get 300 to 400,000 points per year off of that alone, where it may just be 1,000 points in other aspects. One of the other big things that I share with a lot of other dental professionals, especially if you're a specialist, you're taking a lot of other individuals out to eat for marketing, networking, things like that. So utilizing the American Express Gold Card is another kind of, I think, a perfect card for a lot of individuals in that world. They could be spending $50,000, $60,000 a year on networking alone. So it's a pretty unique world for them.
Yeah, if you have those types of business expenses and you're putting them on the right cards, that'll pay for at least a couple business class
Yep.
flights per year easily.
Yeah.
Cool. What are some of the redemptions you've taken most recently that you're wanting to share that you're most proud of?
So last week, actually, as I shared, I have a family of 4. So that's really what we're looking for now. I have 2 different aspects. So I have trips that we go on with our children. They're called trips. And then we have vacations with just myself and my wife. And I've utilized them for both. So we have some really great places that we love to go back to all the time. The Kimpton and Grand Cayman, we've been there 3 times. It's a phenomenal family oriented location. It's easy to get to. We're on the East Coast, so we can normally get there within a couple hours. And I think points per value for any hotels in the Caribbean is probably one of the best. We were just in the Park Hyatt in New York last week with my kids. Again, getting points there. I think Hyatt's always a great redemption. They often had great suite availability. So if you do have a larger family, it's something that's really helpful for you as well. Although it's come to my attention that my kids think a suite is normal now as a room. So I need to somehow figure out how to downplay in the reality of what the world actually is for them. They also think that first class is somewhat normal as well. And I don't know how to pull that back from them until maybe they're 13 or 14 and I can put them back in the plane and my wife and I are allowed to fly up in the front and let them be unsupervised in the back. That's what I say one of the challenging things with points with little kids. They start to be like, oh, this is normal. I'm like, I did not do this until I was 35 years old. So you're living a different world than I grew up in. I'm most excited about a trip that I have coming up with my wife and myself for our 10-year anniversary. I booked 2 suites from Dulles through Doha to the Maldives, and then 6 nights at the Maldives at the St. Regis. We have suite night upgrade to the Astor Suite, fingers crossed there. And then flying back on Emirates first to Dubai to Abu Dhabi, or actually we're staying at the Al Mahar in Dubai, and then flying the Etihad residence on the way back to Toronto, which your team actually helped me find the availability for. So super thankful for that. And then flying Air Canada back home. So it's going to be a blockbuster trip.
Yeah, walk us through all the details. How did you book each thing? Like, where did you book it through? What points did you transfer over? How many points did it take? What's the retail value if you get upgraded to the Astor Suite or all of these
Yeah.
different pieces? Let's do the full breakdown. Let's just kind of do chronological. So the first part you said was Q Suites from Dulles to
2 suites. Yep. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I want to say it was probably about 70,000 miles for each of us. There was a bonus. So when Avios was running a bonus for American Express, I ended up transferring to Qatar. I first found the availability on Seats.aero or Rome. I use both of those to check for availability most of the time before I get started, and then check the availability for that. And then for the hotel, I ended up really just seeing what was available in terms of, and I think probably retail value for Q Suites is probably, I would imagine, about 8,000 per person. So decent redemption there. For Marriott, we ended up being between the St. Regis or the Ritz-Carlton. I think the Ritz-Carlton didn't have the availability that we were looking for because we already booked the initial flight out there. That's one thing that I would say, and I share with some of my dental buddies, is it's almost easier to book the hotel first and then work backwards because it can be challenging to sometimes book a flight around a hotel stay, especially if there's not availability. That's worked out in my favor several times. The Marriott redemption was about 900,000 points. Retail value, if we get the Astor Suite, it's going to be close to 50 grand, which I think is pretty amazing. Yeah. So that would be a great points redemption in terms of points value there. I think it was like $44,000 was the cash redemption rate for that, which would be pretty amazing. And it's in high season, so it's in February as well. So I'm sure that plays a part of that too. The Emirates flight from the Maldives back to Dubai is on a 777. I think they used to fly the Game Changer Suite previously. I don't think they do that anymore. That was 60,000 points or 65,000 miles, Emirates miles each way, and one way for each of us. So 130,000 total. Cash value for that is, I want to say 6,000. And then the Tahad apartment was 100,000 points for each of us. So 200,000 points total. There was a Capital One 40% transfer bonus, I want to say back in. And so we transferred Capital One points for that. And the cash value for that is, I want to say, around $11,000 to $12,000 per person. On top of that, we upgraded to the residence for $2,500 and ended up, I don't know what the cash value of that is. It's, I would say, probably 35. 40. I have no idea. It's going to be awesome.
I don't know
So,
anyone who's actually flown in the residence using points with the cash upgrade, but
yeah.
2,500 each, or
No, 2,500 for, yes, total. It's total for two people. So,
that is incredible. I am
yeah.
so excited for you. How did you earn all of these points? Because if
Okay.
anybody's tallying the math, like it's probably well over 1 million, especially because the Marriott
Yeah.
one. But yeah, how'd you get all these?
Yes. So most of it's through business. So we have a very large dental practice, probably have on average $1.8 million in various items that we have to pay for throughout the year. It's getting harder and harder because more and more companies are placing credit card surcharges on things. So we have to decide, are we going to pay for cash? Are we going to pay with a credit card? And certain things, as I just shared, if they're getting 3 times points on that, we're willing to pay the surcharges. Other thing, taxes. So I know a lot of people pay their taxes potentially with points. We do that as well. Capital One card is going to get you 2 times points for your taxes. It makes sense for us sometimes, not all the time, making sure you, again, have your cash on hand and you're not just charging stuff on credit cards, accruing interest. So a lot of what we're doing is, again, on business spend. With that being said, I do have a wife that enjoys this as well. So we also play the game personally too. We have a rental property that we use the built card for to pay the mortgage. We use several other things. So I would say on average, she or I are opening somewhere between 7 to 8 cards per year. So we're definitely doing it both personally as well as on the business side of things. Business wise, we probably have about 7 different credit cards right now that we're working through and churning.
How do you stay organized with all of those, especially if someone's like, that sounds like a lot of cards?
It's a lot of cards. QuickBooks is really helpful on the business side of things. Actually, if anyone uses QuickBooks, you can see your banking dashboard. Everything's laid out on front. I do a lot of the bookkeeping myself as well. So I'm reconciling things and going through and making sure we're not having fraudulent charges or things like that. And then having a partner as well who also gets to enjoy this process. The great thing about me with my business partner is he gets to enjoy the fruits of my labor. So if I'm like, hey, we're going to add another credit card to QuickBooks, for instance, we just added the Chase Business Sapphire Reserve card. He was like, do we need another card? I'm like, we get 200,000 points bonus. And he's like, oh, yeah, we'll definitely do that because he's traveled on points as well. So I'm slowly infiltrating other people in the office as well to teach them how they too can travel for less and in better places.
And that way you can get referral points too whenever you're like, get
Yep.
this card.
It's pretty awesome.
Amazing. Any other tips that you have implemented that have helped you to earn more points or redeem points more optimally? You've hit so many of the great strategies with transfer bonus, credit cards, allocating your spend, making sure you're earning the most bonus points, the referral bonuses, the building up a business, and making
Yeah.
sure that you're allocating all the expenses there correctly, cost benefit analysis of different things that have surcharges. What else is there?
I would say when I talk to other dentists about this, it's a matter of realizing the potential that most individuals have. So again, we have a team of 28 other individuals that work for us. And a lot of them come to me and they're like, you do such great things. How do I get started? And my answer to them is just get started with something. Just pick one card, put some of your spending that you're already doing, even if it's your normal every monthly charges, such as your power, your cable, your phone, those things, and just start accruing points. Just put it on almost autopilot and figure out a threshold that's important to you and then go from there. That's really where, like anything else, you just have to get started with something. And I think that there's so much information out there that it's almost analysis by paralysis, that you get bombarded with ads and information and some people just don't know where to start. So that's my takeaway, is just get started with something. I have my go-to cards that I recommend to individuals, but at the same time, it really depends on them and their life the best.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing some of those amazing redemptions. I can't wait to hear about that Maldives trip once you guys finally take it in February, because there's so many amazing pieces to that. And congratulations on really just leveling up your strategy so
Awesome.
much and getting so many points and redeeming them in the best way possible. I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.